And you guys were actually in an episode of ER together.
Yes. So,
but you didn't meet.
No, what was really funny is one day, so my dad is a surgeon, and so he's, of course, hated every other medical show besides this one. And then he goes, yeah, it's not like we're having people like having sex in the broom closet. And I went, I had sex with Corin in the broom closet.
And welcome back. You're listening to Hysteria, the podcast that has realized that Phyllis Schlafly didn't die. She just comes back alive again in different bodies over and over again. Do you remember R.L. Stine, those books?
No.
R.L. Stine, like Fear Street. I guess maybe it was a little after your time. But
Maybe.
Fear Street and Goosebumps and stuff.
Oh, I remember Goosebumps, yeah.
Yeah. So they were
It was
like
after my time.
young adult like thrillers. And Fear Street was like the teen version of thrillers. And they had this series called Cheerleaders. And it was about this like evil thing that lived in Shadyside, which is like a funny name for a town where bad things keep happening. An evil that kept like inhabiting the bodies on the cheerleading squad, and they kept like they're like murdering each other and stuff. Anyway, that's what I think of as Phyllis Schlafly. She's just sort of like
that seems right.
This evil spirit. But also, again, I don't think conservatives ever have any new ideas, whether or not they're directly and on purpose copying things. They just are always copying things, and usually they're like worse versions of things that already exist. Case in point, the Make America Hot Again movement.
Just what we needed.
Just what we needed. Oh my God. Let's go, girls. So Make America Hot Again is let's be very clear about this. This is a coordinated and I suspect extremely well-funded effort on the right to create a sort of butterfly net to catch young women and trick them and indoctrinate them into thinking that a traditional patriarchal lifestyle focusing on motherhood and subservience is the same thing as being sexy. That's what's going on.
Yes.
And there have been all these glossy events and these new publications that have cropped up in the last few years. The Conservateur is one of them. Evie magazine, of which you and I are both subscribers,
very
is another
interesting
one.
Content.
The mission of these sort of publications is to, quote unquote, this is the Conservateur's mission, restore long lost moral and aesthetic refinement. So they're trying to tie this notion of like Christianity and political conservatism and motherhood, but not like cool, like badass motherhood, like
no
soft focus, like wimpy motherhood. They're trying to convince people that in order to be beautiful, you have to like align with that. They consider Melania Trump freaking fabulous, gorgeous in every way. They deemed Caroline Leavitt their Wonder Woman. I wonder why she holds her mouth like that. That's why I would call her Wonder Woman. Why are you doing that with your lips? That's not a natural thing to do with your lips. It's not filler. Like you want to get filler because your lips are so thin. So you're pursing them out in a way it's weird, Caroline. The recent headlines also include Lara Trump's World. Oh, Inside Lara Trump's World and Make Your Closet Great Again. The Conservateur recently had a party that was profiled by Glamour magazine. I will say not adoringly. But
no.
Alyssa, what do you make of this Make America Hot Again push? What do you think is going on, and do you think it's going to get legs?
I mean, first of all, can we just talk about the Inside Lara Trump's World spread? If this is what it means to be inside Lara Trump's world, I think everyone should be concerned. She was on a horse wearing a tiara. And to be clear, it was the horse wearing the tiara, not her.
Wow,
okay.
She's friends with the queen of the horses?
She was dressed like she was in Lawrence of Arabia on a horse, and the horse was wearing a tiara. If that is an aspirational aesthetic, they can have it. I don't want it.
The only hat I would accept on a horse, top hat, propeller hat, no tiara.
That's it.
Top hat or propeller hat.
Leave the horse alone.
Leave
him out of it.
Although a horse in a cowboy hat would be kind of funny if there were like holes for the ears.
That's different. That's adorable. That's not a tiara.
Is it her horse, or is it just like
unclear?
She showed up to the shoot, and they're like, "You want to get on this horse?"
Erin, here's the thing: the Conservator is just—they all want to be in Vogue, and Vogue won't have them. So they're like, "We're going to make fetch happen, and we're just going to try to make this our Vogue." And it's not.
But here's the thing: Vogue is not for like the youths either. I find Vogue to be insufferable, kind of. Like,
well, yeah, of course. No, I know, but it
if-
is aspirational, right?
Right.
That's why they're so bent that Melania hasn't been on the cover as first lady, right?
Well, she was on the cover when she got married to Trump.
Right, but not as first lady.
Not as first lady, which is like, oh, we don't really talk about that, which is funny. Yeah, it's weird that they consider Vogue to be just like the height of like accomplishment and like chicness, and it's another reflection of the fact that like Donald Trump and all of his followers are kind of like they've like got 80s brain really bad.
Well, if you look at the fashion, look, I had an edible and I went through this website last night and I could not get enough. If their version of making America hot again is literally just making women physically uncomfortable in their garments again, like that's it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not interesting. Like, and the stories I found, here's what I thought was so interesting. I read the Caroline Leavitt profile. If you replaced her name with a Democrat like AOC or anybody else, or a Democrat who had kids, they'd be up in arms about the content of this article. The fact that she didn't want to take her full maternity leave, that she couldn't get back to work fast enough, that she had FOMO. And I was like, if any of us said that, they would be rage posting about it. And she was unashamed, like just, yes, no, that was her whole thing. She couldn't get back fast enough.
Yeah, well, it's funny because it's like, who's taking care of your kids, Caroline? It's fine.
Totally.
Like, all working moms have somebody watching their kids when they're at work, whether it's their partner or a paid childcare provider or some sort of like institutional childcare provider. But like, I just think it's so silly that they just kind of are like, yeah, you know, you should aspire to be a wife and mother, but like, it's very Schlafly-esque, right? Like, we're going to be out there hustling. We're going to be glamorous. We're going to have we're not going to do the drudgery of housework. Like, we're going to have staffs doing it for us, but you need to do all the stuff that we pay somebody else to do. That's what hot is.
It is like textbook Schlafly, right? Like, she told women that being liberated was really taking away their rights and going to ruin America, but she really had this whole movement because she wanted to work at the Department of Defense.
Yeah, she wanted to work at the DOD and just never got a job there. And she was like kind of impressive. We did This Fucking Guy video on her, and I say impressive in the way that like I would be impressed by like Satan himself. I'd be like, look, he's pretty famous. Like, he figured it. He's got a lot of interesting things to say.
He started a well-organized movement that we didn't agree with.
Right, exactly. You know, the thing that that our associate producer Claire brought up, and I really think this is an important thing to talk about when it comes to these, is that these magazines don't lead with they don't lead with like, don't you want to just pop out some babies? Like, that's not what they lead with. They lead with like, God, don't you wish that like celebrities didn't all have veneers? Like a really banal, agreeable, but like traditionalist leaning stance that's like easy to click like on, easy to share, easy to like comment on, like, oh my God, yeah, why are the teeth so weird now? And you go from like, why are the teeth so weird now, to like, harlotry has destroyed femininity or whatever, or like kick all the trans people, like send the trans people to the moon or whatever. And like, you end up in this really insidious, I think like lie-filled space that tries to paint a picture of motherhood and a traditional wifehood that is like full of fucking lies. Like,
totally. Well,
it's
lies.
like,
especially this, and I would say Evie too. They are very like pro trad wife for everybody, but not for them, right? Like, Caroline Leavitt. Like, I looked at all of the profiles they had done. Leavitt, Elise Stefanik, also says a lot that Tommy Tuberville was among the people they profiled. And Marsha Blackburn.
Oh my God, that'd be like if a women's magazine, a left-leaning women's magazine, had like a Paul Giamatti spread. Like, that is...
Totally. They were just... But these women are like, they want everyone else. They're not doing it. None of them are doing housework. They're not talking about cooking. They're all career first and happen to have children. And that's why I think it's such a scam, because that's not what they're selling.
This episode of Hysteria is brought to you by Fast Growing Trees. Did you know that Fast Growing Trees is the biggest online nursery in the U.S. with thousands of different plants and over 2 million happy customers? Did you, Alyssa?
I did.
Okay, good. They have all the plants your yard needs, like fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs, and so much more.
Whatever plants you're interested in, Fast Growing Trees has you covered. Find the perfect fit for your climate and space. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to get your dream yard. Order online and get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days without ever leaving home. Their Alive and Thrive guarantee ensures your plants arrive happy and healthy. Plus, get support from trained plant experts on call to help you plan your landscape, choose the right plants, and learn how to care for them.
Alyssa, there's something that happens to me when I go to like a giant store nursery. What happens is I like freeze up and I'm like, what did I want to plant? Like, where did I want to plant? Is this a good idea? Is this a good idea? I'm like Googling, like, should I plant this flower in a bed? Like, can it be in a container? Like, they don't really help you very much at those big box stores.
And I'm the opposite. I'm like a wild ride. I'm like Mr. Toads when you get into the nursery. I just buy what looks good and feels right, and then I get home and realize I don't have any place to put it.
Right. That happens to me too. But like, Fast Growing Trees, having a website where you can actually plot out what exactly works for your climate, what will be good for the sort of like planting space you have.
Yep.
And like the sun situation in your yard, like it has like good explanations for what actually can work for what you need it to do.
It's like a plant sommelier.
Exactly. You need somebody to help. I think it just save yourself the kind of trial and error and the multiple trips back and forth to the giant nursery where everybody is frowning at you all the time. Why are they always frowning? And it's very, it's an exciting and fulfilling way to just kind of.
It is. And nursery culture can be very snobby culture, and you just like avoid all the snobbery with.
Snobbery or just like plain old, they don't care that you're even there. You can talk to a plant expert if you want. Soil type, landscape design, how to take care of it, everything else you need. You don't even need a green thumb. This spring, they have the best deals for your yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And listeners to our show get 15% off their first purchase when using the code Hysteria at checkout.
That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code Hysteria at checkout. fastgrowingtrees.com, code Hysteria. Now's the perfect time to plant. Use Hysteria to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply.
Hysteria is brought to you by the Books. Mother's Day is almost here, Alyssa. What are you getting your mom?
My mom, my sister, you know, they get flowers. They get a little bouquet in the mail.
Yeah, I mean, it is the thing that you must do is give your mother flowers.
It's the bare minimum.
That's the bare minimum. You must give your mother flowers. And you need to be figuring that shit out now. Mother's Day is a big flower day. You're going to give her flowers and take her to a garden? A botanical garden? That's a good idea, too.
But still send the flowers.
But the flowers are foundational. And my mom is wonderful and loves flowers, so I'm going to send her some. She sends me flowers all the time, sometimes for no reason.
My mom always sends me flowers, and nothing makes my mom happier than flowers. This time of year, some anemones, some ranunculus.
Well, you know what? It's a great time to just get your Mother's Day flowers lined up. Send Happy Mother's Day flowers from the Bouquets Company, short for bouquets, and I got you 25% off the order. So you can send some happy too. Alyssa, I got it for you. You can use a 25%.
You got it for me?
I got it. I got a 25%.
That's weird because I got it for you.
What? We are constantly getting each other the same presents.
Always.
Bouquets aren't just any flowers. Their flowers are cut from the best farms, so they're bigger, brighter, and they last way longer. Some even grow on the side of a volcano.
It's easy. I pick my bouquet and delivery date, and I'm already done. And with 25% off, why stop with mom? Grab some for your wife, aunt, grandma, too. All your lady friends, all the aunties. Look, guys, you can't forget Mom. Mother's Day is May 11th. Order your bouquets now. Go to bouquets.com. Use our promo code Hysteria for 25% off. That's BOUQS.com, promo code Hysteria. Bouquets, promo code Hysteria.
Anybody who is actually a mother that actually does the work of motherhood and like does housework or whatever, like would read that and be like, this is so fucking fake. And I think the thing that kind of is like a tragedy or like a reflection of a short-sightedness on the left about this is that I was a part of a movement when I first started my career in media that was very critical of mainstream women's magazines that had sort of like a really unhealthy fixation on like thinness and aesthetics and all this stuff. And when I was writing for the website Jezebel, like slowly we saw these magazines change because the people that worked there were like, oh yeah, we don't want to be participating in this either. We're like young, idealistic women who are like hopeful and looking ahead. It was the Obama era. We were all Just the hopium.
Change.
The
Change.
hopium was pure. And so like women's magazines changed. Like Cosmo got self-aware and like goofy with the sex tips. Like, do you remember when they were like, put a donut on his dick?
Yes.
Like it was like, it got funny. And then, Glamour and all the women's magazines kind of like embraced this march to the left, and like their cover stories about feminism and blah, 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 blah. And eventually, just because of the way the media environment was at the time, a lot of those magazines folded or became digital only, or like, and a lot of them don't have nearly the readers that they had before, like this whole like cultural shift happened. And now the web part of that changed as well, has contracted massively. Jezebel still exists, and it's a great publication. People should subscribe to the newsletter version of it. Got great writers, definitely following news stories that people who listen to this show would be interested in. But there are other places that have just like folded up. That there is not a similarly funded counterweight on the left focusing on female audiences anymore. There just isn't.
I would say there's maybe Teen Vogue.
Teen Vogue, but that's not for like adult women, and it doesn't
No,
really
that's
talk
true.
about. I mean, I do. Some of the articles are like,
I do it.
Are definitely like appropriate for adult women to read and enjoy, and I think
No,
are
but you're
really
right.
good. But it's written for like a teenage and young, like early 20s audience. So Teen Vogue, yes, but like we don't have like, we're not having giant like glamorous left-wing parties at the White House Correspondents' Dinner sponsored by a left-leaning women-focused space that talks about culture and talks about sex and talks about relationships, but also has a political point of view. And like not to be like, give me all the money in the world, like and let Hysteria be like a super big heavyweight thing. But
let us.
Other publications and outlets should be right now thinking about the manosphere is cooked, man. Like there are no inroads into young men. There are no inroads. I give up. I give up on the men. But I think that unless we are careful and play defense in the women's media space, and by playing defense, I mean like just investing more in developing female voices and like fostering female spaces that aren't like stupid. And like, unless we do that, we are going to have that space colonized completely by a really, really well-funded right-wing machine that has been saying for years that this is what they were going to be doing. They're moving into the mom space. They're moving into the like young, like gal about town space. They're moving into the lifestyle space. They're going to be moving into like the outdoor space.
If you even look at the Conservateur, like I said, like if I think of that as like Vogue, I think of Evie as like Cosmo or Glamour.
Right.
Like back in the day. And there's nothing. Like we have nothing.
Yeah, and the thing that's also insidious about those magazines is they are very male centered. They are centered on women doing what needs to be done to please men, to be compliant to a patriarchal design for what men think women should be. And they're participants, they're gleeful participants, and I'm not going to like undercut the intelligence of the female participants in this whole scheme, but they're people who think that the patriarchy will protect them.
Right.
And because it has so far.
No,
it probably will, but it might not.
We need to bring back Ms. Magazine.
We need to bring back. Well, Ms. Magazine I think still exists, but just not.
It does, but I mean like bring it back.
I remember like Bust magazine. I used to read Bust magazine, and like I don't know if we need like print magazines, but we definitely need like more betches. We need more like women's spaces that are like that get a lot of eyeballs, that have a point of view, and that are going to prevent this from like becoming the type of womanhood that young girls look up to as something that is like. I think that like the version of womanhood they present is like really seductive too. It's like, wouldn't you like to just be married and live on a farm and have like 5 kids and your husband takes care of you and like everything is like, you have this big kitchen and a Viking stove and you make bread?
Of all of the profiles that I read about 5 of them. They present.
What kind of edible did you take?
That's telling you.
Productive edible.
I read Tommy Lauren. I read Caroline Levitt. I read Lara Trump. Very well-rounded people. Do you know what I mean? They don't present them as, I actually find them to be one-dimensional in real life, but the articles are written in such a way that they are compelling. You know?
It's like the Barbification of.
They're not, and they're to be clear, they're not journalists. They're not like interviews. They're like very straight, totally positive profiles.
Puff pieces.
Yeah, total puff pieces.
You know, I heard a rumor that there have been writers who have written for Evie and not realized it.
Really?
Yeah, I heard a rumor that, you know, they would get approached, like established writers of bylines, and be like, hey, you know, we're like paying a pretty good rate, like $1,000 for like 1,200 words, which is like pretty good in this day and age.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a women's magazine. Can you do this? Blah, 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 blah. And they'll do it. And then they'll realize like after that, like what they were writing for, which is pretty wild. Yeah. I mean, I've worked most of my career in like women's media and spaces where I'm like trying to be thoughtful about what it means to have conversations that are led by women, and conversations where like women and it's expanded to be like women, gays, and theys, but just like conversations that are not centered around the viewpoints and voices of cis guys, basically, and I'm very worried that the kind of perpetual pink ghettoification of women's media and the pushing of female voices into like the lifestyle section, it all left a vacuum that I think that the right wing is taking advantage of right now, and
doing a good job.
They're doing a good job. And if anybody wants to hire me to consult on starting a new women's voice space, I will help you, because I've got a
could
lot of
just
thoughts.
give us money to do it ourselves.
I mean, I already get paid to do my job.
Fair.
That's, you know, I do get paid to do my job. But I am requesting a beanbag and a weighted blanket set. Alyssa, what do we think of their like worship of Melania?
They are obsessed with Melania. I mean, and the thing about it is, I don't even know what she's ever done to be obsessed by. Do you know what I mean? She literally doesn't speak. Like, she doesn't give...
She did in that one video where she was like, I like to think abortion is like, and...
Oh, do you mean the promo reel for her book?
For her book.
Yeah, that was really it.
How many people actually read that book? How many people
Hard
actually
to tell.
read it?
I think there were a lot of asterisks in the New York Times bestseller list, if you know what I mean. A lot of bulk buy.
Yeah, I mean, what does Melania represent? A person who clearly doesn't like her husband, who wears defensive hats that are obviously designed so that he can't get close to her face with his face.
Wears sunglasses with the aplomb of Anna Wintour indoors.
Has sometimes either looks very different than herself or has a body double to do things for her.
Yes.
One of those two scenarios.
Generally just, you know, she bees best.
Honestly, though, Alyssa, I gotta say, fake Melania is aspirational. Like, wouldn't you like a fake Alyssa that you could just send out? Like, you've got to go to this event. You don't want to go. You don't really want to talk to anybody, but you said you were going.
I just can't wait until fake Melania writes her book someday.
I mean, God, fake Erin would get so much accomplished. Fake Erin would go to the DMV.
Would be all over town.
Oh yeah, she would. I would have to like rein her in. I would be like, fake Erin, you're doing great. You don't need to go above and beyond. You just need to do what I ask you to do. I don't need
the
you
bare
showing
minimum
up at movie premieres wearing glasses and a scowl. Real Erin would never do that. So that doesn't seem believable at all. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have a special interview.
Hello and welcome to Hysteria. If you've been listening to the show for the past few weeks, you know how obsessed I am with the Pitt. For those of you who have yet to binge, it's a medical drama where each episode details an hour of a chaotic emergency department shift at a fictitious Pittsburgh hospital. The show quickly gained acclaim from both real-world emergency workers for its accurate portrayal of their experiences, and for us regular viewers for its gut-wrenching and gripping storylines. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by Katherine LaNasa, who you may know as Nurse Dana Evans. I happen to know she's responsible for making me want to do ballet on the floors of an ER. Katherine, welcome to Hysteria.
Thank you for having me.
Is it true you're always dancing on set?
Yes. Yes, nonstop.
So first I just have to know, how, in a world that feels quite dark, out on the streets, right? Quite dark. How does it feel to be part of a show, of an ensemble that is like America's favorite TV show? Everyone's talking about it. Everyone cannot get enough.
It feels amazing. Are you kidding me? Like, it was just a real bucket list thing to get to work for John Wells, you know, who's always had these complicated, real women, in his television shows. I knew if I got to work for him, I'd get to do a complicated, kick-ass, great character. So that was already amazing. The fact that people are responding to it is just like they say in Louisiana, it's just lagniappe. It's just an embarrassment of riches. I can't believe how lucky I am. But also it's really touching because I think at its core, in a way, a lot of the show is really about empathy.
Yes.
And I felt when I was working on it that I was becoming more of an empathetic person. I think to play the role in, your moment to moment when you're acting, right? If you're any good, if you want to be any good, be in the moment. So, but I felt like it was constantly about, oh, these people are going through this and I need to hold what they're going through, or Robbie's going through this. I need to hold that. And it made me as a person realize on a deeper level that you really never know what people are going through. It gave me a lot more compassion.
To go a little bit back to the beginning, what was the casting process like?
I had been unable to get arrested during this COVID self-tape nightmare that my life had become. And, I got that role, and I'd also gotten the Righteous Gemstones role at the same time. And my agents were like, oh, you're going to get it. We tried to get them to offer it to you. I don't know. I'm sure you saw the campaign, like that Rose Brady part, so they thought that I was just a shoo-in for that role. And I remember I put it on tape, and I had to do them within a day of each other. And then I put the Pitt on tape, and I just thought felt so much more right in the Pitt. I don't know why. I wasn't great in that Righteous Gemstones part. I don't know why. And I remember I called my agents and I was like, I think that Pitt thing was pretty good. You hear anything? They're like, oh, they don't know what they want. Oh, they're seeing everybody. They're seeing all different kinds of people and they don't know what they want. And I thought it was kind of good. And Noah wrote this thing. I don't know if you've heard about this, but he wrote a letter to everyone that was auditioning. And it came it was a great little letter, and it came along with your audition materials. And he basically said that he wanted everyone to bring their creativity and to leave their ego. And he wanted it to feel like this top to toe immersion, like the minute. And that's something that I always focus on. Like I try to be completely active in what I'm doing, like whether I'm in the deep background or wherever I am. It's all that physical stuff's really important to me. And just something about the way that he wrote what he wrote, I thought in my little brain, I thought, I think they want me. It's really weird, but I had not been able to get a job. It wasn't like I wasn't being arrogant. I just thought, I think I'm the kind of person they want. I think if I could get in front of them, I think they might want me.
That's we've all had. I mean, look, if you are lucky, you've had that moment at least once in your life.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're like, I think this is for me. And then it ends up being for you.
Yes. I remember actually with Katie Keene, I had this audition for something that Mark Cherry was doing. Then I had this Katie Keene project, which was also on Max, and with Lucy Hale. And I remember saying to my friend, but if we get that one, we're going to have to move to New York and blah, blah, blah. That one's going to require us moving to New York. And my friend's like, you haven't even auditioned yet. And I remember thinking like, whatever.
It's going to happen. But wait, so you auditioned for the Pitt, online?
Self-tape.
That's crazy. The whole reason I was curious about that question is because every single person in that show has such a physical role, and it is so I assume, I actually was curious. I was like, did you have to just be running around? How did you, I was I thought physically you would have to perform in the way that show is.
And then they called me to do a callback with John Wells, and I was in Palm Springs. I live in Atlanta. I was in Palm Springs interviewing a writer, and they wanted me to do it the next morning. I was in town actually to go to this Bear's 50th birthday party. Flamboyant, 60s themed party. I literally had a flowered jumpsuit and almost nothing else. So I had to go to Target at 11 o'clock at night and buy a sweatshirt or just something to wear. I was staying with some friends that are so minimal they didn't have an extension cord. I had to borrow a ring light. The audition started me the camera was all upside down, and it was kind of a nightmare. And I remember I did something. I was like, I want to start that again. Okay, can I do it again? And John's like, yeah, okay, do it again. But that's exactly how you play the scene, Catherine. I was like, okay. So I do it again. And then when I get to the next scene, the guy that's reading with me, his poor first line was, do we have any Mirapenum and Pixis? And he flubbed it. And he got really flustered because he doesn't want to mess up my audition.
Sure.
And so I was like, welcome to my world, buddy. And then he's like, I think I just need some water. And I was like, just take your time. You got this. So we
Oh my God.
flipped it around. I ended up making them laugh a lot. And I called my agent and I was like, they liked me, but I don't know if they just think I'm a buffoon.
Right,
You know,
right.
it was just a fun part of their day or what. And it just kept going. And it just kept going. And I had to send in more material later. I had to do another scene. Yeah. It just kept going. And then I got it.
That is so shocking. Okay, so you get the job. You are charge nurse, Dana.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be a charge nurse, and how did you prepare? You actually shadowed someone, right?
Yes. Well, first of all, I come from a long line of hard-ass women, right? And I think that I have the qualities that I love that John Wells put together. You know, it's always these long-suffering women, right? In television, and the guys, he's just a rascal and she's just long-suffering, like, right? And so I love that John made her this badass, hard-ass that's also compassionate and warm and motherly. You know, I love all that. I am a mother. I've had a kid since I was in my early 20s. I have a 34-year-old son. I have an 11-year-old daughter. I've always been a mother. I'm kind of like Martha Stewart. I'm a very domestic bitch. And so
That is, I see the parallels.
Yes, I'm watching the Martha documentary now, and I'm like,
Oh, it is so excellent.
no, my husband needs to watch it so he can understand me. I'm like, there I am. I'm there. That's me. So that part I already had, and that's probably why I got the role, because I think I am intrinsically have both of those qualities, right? That I'm kind of, I'm very visceral. I'm very like, people have always told me everything about themselves. I'm pretty open, and people have always told me a lot of stuff, strangers even, about themselves. So there's something about me that was right about it. But yeah, I went and shadowed Kathy Garvin, and I learned so much. I was listening to a podcast today, and someone said, "You never know you never know how much information you're going to get if you just show up at the crime scene." And that's how it was.
And you did.
That's how it was going to the hospital. You know, I don't know if you ever see it, but if anyone even notices, but I have this piece of paper in my back pocket that I carry around.
Yeah.
And it would drive Noah crazy. It's like, it looks like sides. I go, America doesn't know what sides are. You know, little pieces of script, right?
Right.
But the nurse in the emergency department, one of the charge nurses, would print out all the patients, and then she would make her rounds and make notes on the paper. And because what am I? Am I Gen X? Did you see that? What's her name's?
We're Gen X.
Gen X.
Yeah, we're Gen X.
I write. Okay.
Yeah, so do I.
I use paper.
I can even do cursive.
I use paper. So I wanted to write, and John didn't even want to write. So I had to ask special permission to write. And he goes, I just didn't want the kids to write because nobody knows how to write anymore. I was like, yes, can I please write? Like, I wanted to write, not just type everything on a pad. So this woman wrote, and she had like a piece of paper, and she would write on it, and she'd go around, and then she'd fold it. It was all folded up, and then she'd get back to her computer and open it up. So little gems like that, or they have sandwiches too, and just lots of little things, or the way they responded or talked about their regulars, like they have their Earls and their Myrnas, and they were there. Myrna's the best.
I love Myrna. When she went missing, I was like, oh no, I hope the Pitt Fest shooter wasn't Myrna.
Jeanette.
Hysteria is brought to you by Nutrafol. Summer is full of big moments. weddings, vacations, endless photos, Erin. But if you're dealing with hair thinning or shedding, showing up and being present in those moments might feel tough. Nutrafol takes a whole body approach to hair growth, working from the inside out. So the sooner you start, the sooner you'll be feeling confident and focusing on what matters most to you.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. Alyssa, I gotta tell you something. After having kids, now I understand the mom haircut. You know the mom haircut?
Yeah,
Someone has
of course.
a kid and suddenly they've got short hair. Like, I just thought it was because like babies take fistful of hair and just like yank on them. And that
No.
is partially true. But it is also true that a lot of times after you have kids, you experience some disturbing hair loss. Your hair just like sheds. You just shed for like...
Do you know when else it happens? Perimenopause.
Perimenopause.
All of a sudden that estrogen dips and the locks just end up in the drain.
Right. And, you know, there is a way to bring it back. It's not hopeless. You can work from the inside out with Nutrafol. That's why I really like it. It's like a supplement I can take every day to kind
Me
of
too.
help kickstart the process again. I'm already seeing results. I've been taking it for a couple months. And
You look like a finesse commercial to me.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
People can't
Prel,
see 'cause
Pert, all the old shampoos.
Thank you so much. This is an audio medium, so you can't see my hair, but it does like feel really nice lately. Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Hysteria. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code Hysteria. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Hysteria.
Hysteria is brought to you by Fatty 15. Erin, how important is staying young to you?
It is so important, Alyssa. No, it's not about staying young.
No,
it is just about
feeling good.
I want to feel good. I like getting older mentally. I like the lessons that I've learned and the wisdom that I've gained. I don't like my back hurting when I stand up from sitting down. You know?
Aches, pains. It's real. It happens for so many reasons.
I don't like not being able to get down on the floor and put together a puzzle with my kids and then take like 10 seconds to stand up while going, ugh.
When you got to do the roll and tuck to try to get back up.
That sounds like a modern dance move. I am so excited to share with you guys C15 from Fatty 15, the first essential fatty acid to be discovered in more than 90 years. It's an incredible scientific breakthrough to support our long-term health and wellness, and you guessed it, aging and longevity. Fatty 15 co-founder Dr. Stephanie Venn Watson discovered the benefits of C15 while working with the U.S. Navy to continually improve the health and welfare of aging dolphins. Look, if it's good enough for dolphins,
It's good enough for us.
good enough for you, it's good enough for me.
Based on over 100 studies, we now know that C15 strengthens our cells and is a key longevity-enhancing nutrient, which helps to slow biological aging at the cellular level. In fact, when our cells don't have enough C15, they become fragile and age faster. And when our cells age, our bodies age too. Best of all, Fatty 15 comes in a gorgeous reusable glass bamboo jar, and refills are shipped right to your door.
Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help you live healthier longer. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/hysteria and using code Hysteria at checkout.
Here's an interesting, it was interesting to me, and I'm curious what it was like. The fact that the show, I found it, even though other shows have followed the same format of 1 hour within each day, right? And that's the show. What was that like? Because for you, it was actually like, I started thinking about it. I'm like, she can't dye her hair or like cut her hair. Like, you had to look, how long did you film it? And did you find, was it as satisfying to play a show in that format as it was for me to watch that in that format?
Yeah, there was a couple things. First of all, it was a lesson in letting go. Like, oh, you're going to have a black eye and you're not going to have any makeup. And, honestly, it did me a world of good. It's like, it allowed me to be more myself. But to be honest, the whole process, the set and the process that we did, which was different. Normally, you will go and shoot everything in your character's office, for that 1 or 2 episodes. Sometimes even they double board and they'll do 2 episodes. So you'll spend 2 days and you'll shoot all 7 scenes that are in the office for those 2 episodes. And then you move on to this. So it's all kind of disjointed. And it's also like everyone's hanging lights and doing stuff. And you're away in your dressing room or in the in your cash chair, and then the divas walk on and everyone separates. Here, it was like we had no cash chairs. We used the family room as our green room, and we stand around and
Right.
we shoot in order, right?
Okay.
We shoot in order.
It would seem like that would have to be the case.
Because they needed to let the set, we weren't going to have, oh, now we have blood splatter. Now we don't have blood. Now
Right.
we have this. Now we have that. Now it allowed the set to age with us. And it was all a grand experiment. I mean, if you hear John and Scott talk, they're like, we didn't know if it was going to work. But it was,
But boy, did it ever.
it was very relaxing. That big set, it kind of starts to feel like home. You never change your clothes. You're not in anything where what you look like matters. At my age and with the lack of makeup, I'm not in like a Spanx within, an inch of my life, and nails and everything has to be perfect. It became very relaxing. And I think in a way, the nature of how we shot actually lended itself to what John was going for, which was like to feel like you were inside it. So it all became kind of relaxed.
So here's a question. Watching, especially the episodes, I think it was about 3 episodes that cover the Pitt Fest mass shooting that you guys are dealing with. When every episode was about to come on Thursday night, I would rewatch the previous 2 episodes to get in the mood. So I have watched each episode multiple
Nice.
times. And for Pitt Fest, I was like, was there actual choreography? Like, it almost feels like when I would see you dancing on Instagram, I'm like, was there actual choreography? There are so many people. The floors are slippery. How did an episode like that get made?
There's a lot of choreography, and the people
Is there? Okay.
that ran the background were really terrific. So they all have a mission. All the background has a plan, and then we have a plan, and then I don't know if you've talked to anybody else, but all the trauma scenes have choreography. And so
No. Oh, wow. Okay.
So they will write down, if you're in a trauma scene, whether it was in those units, like, the red zone or the pink zone or the yellow zone, or whether you were in a trauma room in any of the other episodes, you would have a set of sides, which are like a mini script page. And it would say, like, on this line, you're going to go hang that blood bag, and you're going to connect the line. And then you're going to take this scalpel and you're going to go put it over there, and then you're going to leave, or you'll check and see what so-and-so's doing. So they might give you 4 or 5 things like that. You might not get it all done. So the real ER docs that we have that come every day, we have 2 teams that rotate. They are responsible for creating that choreography and writing that. And so often when they're shooting the scene before that, you're running the choreography for your scene. I know that the kids that actually have to do I know it's not called surgery, but the trauma operations or whatever you call it, those people even had greater levels of rehearsal earlier on, I think just because of all the suturing and all of that stuff. But yeah, it's all choreographed.
So it's all choreographed, but yet it still looks, is it, how many run-throughs would you say? Like, one of the things that I had read was one of the most moving scenes in the show is Noah Wiley's final speech that he delivers at the end of the final episode. And I had read that was delivered like 15 or 20 times, different takes to get different angles and stuff like that. But it still felt like, was there a trick for you particularly to, like, how do you maintain that authenticity going into what's maybe the final take after you've done it 10 times? And it's, I think it's such a testament to everybody's acting, because I feel like I'd start hauling my ass across the finish line. You know what I mean?
Noah is really a master actor. I feel like he's a guy that puts no pressure on himself. And I think it's why he's so good. It's like, I don't feel like he's ever trying to force some moment out of himself, force himself to cry or force himself to this or force himself to that. He's so relaxed that his instrument is just so available to him. So he's amazing, but I like repetition. I repeat a lot when I practice. I have to practice things a lot so that when I get there, maybe I have to practice certain behaviors if it's really technical. Sometimes if I think I want to do something with pens and pencils and this is and that's, I'll rehearse that when I do my lines, right? I'll run my line and maybe even think, oh, I probably want to be writing here. So I'll try to practice, have some loose idea if there's a lot of physicality in it. So I like repetition. It doesn't really throw me off. I mean, yeah, the trick is really to not become self-conscious or try to repeat yourself. That's when you kind of suck from repetition. But I don't mind it.
I have to say, I was a freshman in college when ER debuted, and we would watch ER before we went out for the night. And so I had like a real relationship to the characters of ER because like you'd be having your like, vodka and, Crystal Light and getting ready to go out. And so, back then, I think
and Slurpee is what we had.
Okay. And so we would be like, we all thought that like Dr. Carter was dreamy back then. And now I'm perimenopausal. I have night sweats. No one speaks to me more than weathered, grumpy Dr. Robbie. I was like, oh, we have come through our adulthood together. This
Dr.
makes so
Daddy.
much sense.
Dr. Daddy.
And you guys were actually in an episode of ER together.
Yes. So,
but you didn't meet.
No, what was really funny is one day, so my dad is a surgeon, and so he's, of course, hated every other medical show besides this one. And when it came out, my dad was like, oh, this is the first one that's, that's real, and this show and that show, that's just BS, but this is really real. And we were having a lunch with John and Scott and all the cast, and I told John Wells, I was like, my dad was like, I told him what my dad said, and he goes, yeah, it's not like we're having people like having sex in the broom closet. And I went, I had sex with Corin in the broom closet. And John was like, but it was the seventh season. So,
it was different back then.
I can't believe he said that.
It's hilarious.
I know.
Is there on the show, so you obviously have gotten to know everybody very well. You've spent so much time together. Is there anyone who plays a role that is just so opposite of their actual personality?
Garen.
Okay.
Garen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's so I had to know. I'm like, because I'm
He's
also
very
like
funny. He's very quick. He's Welsh.
Okay.
And I don't know why we have this. People always get his name wrong because it's like Gerran. So I always call him Jerry because people would call him Jaron. His name is Garen. I'd be like, listen, Jerry. I would always call him Jerry, and then because he's Welsh, I don't know why. We had this whole thing where we would call each other Jerry. And then I'd be like, I've had about enough of your beeswax, Jerry.
Oh my God, the Pitt sounds fun. The cast sounds fun.
The Pitt is a groove. The Pitt is a groove. We had a great time.
And so
Here's what
I've
pickleball together. It's fun. We played poker at my house.
That's, I did see, I saw this. I saw some of the pictures. I saw poker pictures on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's I'm only reporting what I have read. Okay, this is only what I've read. So we have read that the Pitt has been renewed for season 2, coming back in January 2026. We are rejoicing. I could not have waited 18 months or 2 years for that. We have read that it is going to take place several months later during 4th of July weekend.
I heard that too.
Okay.
But I didn't hear that I heard that just from doing interviews.
Okay, so I'm not done with what I've read.
Okay.
So this season ended with Nurse Dana slyly packing up her family photos.
Yes.
She had enough.
That was my real daughter, by the way.
I kind of wondered, and you packed it up, and the question everybody was curious about was, does she come back?
Right.
We cannot have the Pitt without the matriarch, the boss Pitt. Data.
I hope.
And then, well, I'm just telling you again what I have read.
Where'd you read?
That in Variety, Gemma was saying that it wouldn't have been possible for Dana to come back if the show had picked up where it stopped. However, since it's taking place months later, it would make much more sense if Dana were to have returned, perhaps after a break.
Ooh.
Okay. Have you not read that? Have you not read that?
Did not read that.
Okay, so I'm just telling you that's what I read.
Oh, that's
and
good.
So I was very
that's good.
Hopeful. I was very hopeful.
Good.
Like fingers crossed. Okay. Yeah. Couple last questions, then I will let you go. This has been so fun. Do you think Whitaker and Santos will fall in love?
Wow.
Right?
Wow, that would be amazing.
I'm just saying.
I thought there was going to be a little thing with Whitaker and the nurse.
Right.
Amber, her real name. What's her? Kim. I thought there was going to be something with Whitaker and Kim. Now that, Kim is a real nurse.
I read that there are actually real medical professionals in the show
that are actors. Yeah.
Right. Like one of the male nurses in the show is actually a charge nurse.
Oh, Tim Van Pelt.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was actually on The West Wing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a real.
And then he went and
Good for
became
him.
a charge nurse. And now he's working for John Wells doing this.
I mean, look, it's a family. You got to stay in the family if you're with John Wells.
And he's one of our supervisors. It's so nice to be able to go to him at any time and say, what would I do here? Or,
well, Erin Jontow, who's one of the executive producers on the show, I have known Jontow for years.
Oh.
And when the show came out, you don't always see the credits, like the way it streams. And I am a nerd, and I also work at a production company. And so I always like to see the credits. And I see her name, and I fired her off an email so fast. I was like, bitch, you're creating incredible television. What have you done? How did I not know you were doing this? So I will say after the finale, she's like, girl, did we land the plane? I was like, you fucking landed the plane for sure. I'm like 10 out of 10 season. And I told her, I go, season finale, not series, right? She's like, girl, keep watching. So anyway, Katherine, thank you so much. I just have one comment generally.
Yes.
Is that I'm such a fan for many, many reasons. But one is that, like, in a world that feels quite devoid of excellence and empathy right now, I just think the show is the epitome of both of those things. I think it's why people love it so much. So, Katherine, thank you so much for coming on Hysteria today. I hope you will be back in season 2, and I hope you will come back and see us on season 2.
Definitely. Thank you so much.